Good morning, guys. It is Monday, October 4th. It is our very first day of looking at the news with Jim. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jess. So glad to be here and so glad to do this with you today.
Yes, I'm so pumped. Well, we're just going to jump right in. Today, we're going to be talking about National Child Health Day. Did not know this existed. So National Child Health Day is a United States federal observance day observed on the first Monday in October. It says that the stated purpose is to honor children with a commitment to ensuring they make healthy life choices and have the resources to lead happy and productive lives. Every child deserves a real opportunity to fully develop individually, socially, and emotionally. The holiday was enacted by Congress in 1928 and was first celebrated on May 1st, 1929. Okay, interesting. So I knew that they had a national holiday for so many things, but didn't know they had one for this. So Jim, I'm curious. I'm not a child. I do not have children. And so I would say that I don't actively think about how the next generation is developing and what sort of things we want them to grow into. And so when you think of goals for our children or your children even, or the next generation, what does our society value, would you say?
Yeah, thank you. What does it and what should it, right? And,
Yeah.
And what's the difference in those two things? So I have two sons, both of whom are married, both of whom have two of my four grandchildren, who, by the way, are perfect, brilliant, and perfect in every way. Their parents don't always agree, but their parents are just wrong about that. I mean, I'm just sorry, you know? So I think a lot about this, not only my sons, obviously, that are now in their 30s, but my grandchildren as well, and what the culture values versus what the culture maybe should value. So we want to be thinking biblically about the cultural issues. That's kind of the point of our show, our conversation together. So at the end of Luke chapter 2, we're told about Jesus at the age of 12, that he grew in wisdom and stature, in favor with God, and in favor with man. Well, to me, Jess, those are the four ways that we need to be valuing our children and their growth and encouraging them in their growth. The first is wisdom, that's intellectual. The second is stature, that's physical health. The third is favor with God, that's spiritual. And then favor with man is relational. I think we do better at some of those than others. We're really good at the stature part, at the physical health, at sports activities, and how involved they need to be at that point. We think a lot about intellectual and about school and about learning and about all that goes inside that kind of academic advancement. We think about relational a good deal of the time. Their kids, their friends, their social relationships, how all that's working. What we tend to leave out is the favor with God part. And yet that's foundational to all the rest. If we get that right, then we have the power to get all the others right as well.
Anytime someone reads that passage from Luke, I have a hard time imagining Jesus as a little boy, like growing up and learning things. And I think that's a really good passage to refer to. You mentioned like physical health, and then you said spiritual. And I think today's culture puts a lot of emphasis, it seems like when I grew up as well, but especially now, a lot of emphasis on a child's success in school or in sports or their achievements, what titles they can get and how prepared they are for college and kindergarten. And so you mentioned a relational aspect to our health, and it got me thinking of just how prevalent social media and technology has become in my life as I've grown up, and the way kids I know, just the way that it's in their lives. And I definitely think on my end, I can say that social media has changed the way that I interact with people and how I build relationships and how, I maintain relationships that I have now. And yeah, I've definitely noticed in myself, I think I'm more connected to people, and in some sense I am, but at the same time, it also can pull me away from relationships I already have because I'm so busy looking at other people's lives and interested in what people I barely know are doing. And so, can you speak to how technology has played a role in kids' lives, social media, things that you've observed or experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. And then even some practical ways maybe that we can help our kids at that point as well. So really a couple of things that are coming out in the studies about all this, because obviously this is something that parents and educators are intensely interested in. Been a number of studies recently indicating that technology is causing children to feel isolated more than ever before. And part of that's just the experience of technology. It's them in their screen. It's them playing that video game. And if they're relating to anybody, it's more as a competitor than anything. No one else is in the room with them. It's just them and their technology, their device at the time. And so they're getting more isolated, more lonely, more atomized. It's called, there's more cocooning kind of happening than ever before. And a second piece of that is when they are relating to other people through social media and digital, it's kind of artificial. They can kind of be who they say they are. They can make up their own name or avatar or whatever. They have this kind of public face, and they're driving for likes, and they want follows, and they're evaluating themselves by how popular they are with social media that's inside that. And that's directly related to mental health, to emotional health, to relational health. We're actually seeing suicide rates go up as a result of people being not liked or followed in social media, getting so much of their self-esteem inside all of that. So a quick story. Someone was standing on a street corner some years ago and asked every person who came by, who are you? And they responded with what they did. Who are you? I'm a doctor. Who are you? I'm a lawyer. Who are you? I'm a teacher. Well, the right answer for a Christian, when someone asks, who are you? The answer is, I'm the child of God. I'm loved unconditionally by God. My self-esteem isn't based on my likes or my follows. It's not based on how much I impress you with who I appear to be in social media, or whether I won at that game or I was successful over here. If we can teach our kids that, if we can start very early teaching them that we love them unconditionally, and even more that our Father loves them unconditionally, then we're arming them as they step out into a culture that measures them not by who they are, but by what they do. And to me, that's a really critical point to make.
I'm curious. I think on my own journey with like social media and figuring it out and trying to be disciplined in that, I've really gone between like, oh, I need to get rid of social media completely, or I'm like, I can't. I like it. It's good for these purposes. And I think can be, I don't know. I imagine if I was a parent, I would have a hard time being like, how do I not make this like into something that they can't do and like prohibit it? But also, how can I make sure that they have healthy boundaries with it and like help them see it as a good thing? I think that's kind of a thought that I have of like not seeing it as entirely bad or entirely good, but something that can be used in all our lives, but especially for the younger generation. Like how practically, what does that look like?
Now, great question. And you're right. It isn't either all bad or all good. It really can be depending on how we do it. So there are 3 rules that people seem to be talking about a good deal as regards how to help children with technology. The first is to not let them be isolated, not let them be alone. Never, if you can, with your kids, have them be online when they're in a room by themselves. Put the computer in a common space, put it at a place where people are going by or at least can go by. Online predators are a real thing. Never assume that your kids are immune to that they can't be susceptible to that. Quite frankly, pornographers are really good at hooking kids based on some of the ads they run and some of the ways that they do their horrific business. So try not to let them be alone in this space. Second, be in conversation with them. Ask them who they're seeing online, what they're doing online, what experiences they're having online. Have that be part of a family experience. So it's not something that's isolating them so much as it's something that we're discussing together. We're kind of working through together. And then third, and I know it sounds simple, but it's critical, and that is to be in prayer. To be asking the Lord to show me if there's something I need to be concerned about. Alert me if there's a place where I need to be maybe encouraging here or discouraging there, and where I need to be active but not too active, where I need to be engaged. The Lord was their Father before we were their parents. And so ask the Lord to guide you, lead you specifically in this space, and He will answer that prayer.
Mm. Yeah, I also think too, if we want our kids to have like healthy boundaries and a good relationship with social media, I feel that like we need to model that as well. And like anytime I've babysat for kids, if I find myself on my phone, I'm like, oh, this is like communicating something to them, and we like lead by example. And so I definitely think it can start with us as adults, and hopefully they see that we're not always on our phones or like not addicted to them.
No, absolutely true. It's called screen addiction, and it's an absolute thing. So it kind of starts with us, doesn't it? It starts with what we model, because our kids are going to do not what we say, but what we do, right? And so as we model that with them, years ago when we first had children, someone gave me the very simple advice, and that is that kids spell love, T-I-M-E. And it's not just being in the room with them, it's being present with them. It's being connected to them. Now that we have grandkids and we get to keep them on occasion, it's such a joy to do that. It's kind of funny. I'll watch, if they're watching me, watch them. If they're seeing if I'm really paying attention to a game they're playing or something we're doing, and they're watching. They really are paying attention to see if I'm really attending, if I'm really connected. I'm not saying we have to be perfect at this, but the Lord will help us to do that. If we'll make that a huge value in our lives, then they're more likely to make it a value in their lives.
All right, guys, that's all we have for you guys today. I learned a ton. I'm not a parent, and so this was super helpful for me, Jim, just to hear your insight as a father and a grandfather, and I hope it was helpful for you guys. But we will be back tomorrow morning to look at some more news with Jim. Bye, you guys.